Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we shall be delving into another Imperial Guard 10th edition datasheet. This time, we will be casting our critical eye over, weirdly, one of the most popular Guard super heavies out there, the Doomhammer. And I have to be honest with you, I am, and this is coming from someone who is obsessed with the Guard, a little bit intimidated by the fanatical cult-like popularity of the Doomhammer. And so what I want to do is find out why people love this thing so much. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that people who like this thing really like this thing. For as long as I can remember, there have been Reddit threads, forum posts, YouTube videos made about people's love for the Doomhammer. And so without further ado, let's mount up, roll out, and drive right into this thing.
Attention Guardsmen, the Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
As is tradition, we'll start off with a brief overview of the Doomhammer stat line before then getting into the weapons and war gear. And we'll round the video out with a bit of a deep dive, especially trying to figure out why people like this thing so much. So with that said, let's begin with a cheeky gander at the stat line. Movement 12 on the Doomhammer is really nice. Most guard vehicles only have a movement of 10 inches. But the Doomhammer having 12 inches is good for two reasons. Firstly, it is good because if you're playing in a detachment like Combined Arms or Siege detachment, that extra 2 inches is going to be vital for pivoting round a lot of the dense terrain boards that we find ourselves playing on. UKTC and WTC especially, you tend to find Doomhammers are kind of forced to go down narrow channels, and it can be a little bit tricky if you don't have a bit of extra movement in the bank. So that 2 inches does actually make a big difference. Also, if you're playing on GW terrain, I have found that the 12-inch move allows a Doomhammer to get not only into the middle of the board, but sort of past a lot of that line of sight blocking terrain. So if you want to be aggressive, and it is a big risk, but if you want to be aggressive, you can get that Doomhammer forward and getting line of sight pretty easily on GW terrain right from the get-go. Maybe you don't do it turn one, but you can definitely sort of wait a little bit, and then when it's time to go, you can go. However, I would say most impactfully, no matter what terrain type you're playing on, the Doomhammer and the 12-inch move is going to be very spicy in a Hammer of the Emperor detachment. And that's thanks to the crash through stratagem, which allows you to basically just go through terrain as if it wasn't there. All of those impassable, annoying walls and ruins that you can't get through, not a problem when you've got crash through and Hammer of the Emperor. And 12 inches there means that you still get all the movement that you could possibly want, and you can still take aim on the Doomhammer so it can get those shots hitting where it needs to. In summary, it's fast, but unlike most fast vehicles which are kind of fragile, the Doomhammer is very durable. Toughness 13, suck it knights, and a 2+ save and 24 wounds mean this thing is going to be able to take a beating. T13 is a really important toughness breakpoint because one of the most common anti-tank weapons in the game is the las cannon or the las cannon equivalent. What we mean by that is there'll be a lot of factions out there which don't necessarily have a las cannon, but they have something which is broadly equivalent to it. It's strength 12, it's AP 3, it's doing D6 plus 1, D6 plus 2 damage. Now, that profile that we've just talked about, that strength, that AP, that damage, that is the most common go-to anti-tank weapon profile. And with the Doomhammer being T13, it means that these common las cannon and equivalents are wounding you on 5s. That makes it really unreliable, really swingy. And I have seen Doomhammers just not even have to roll a save from someone shooting a bunch of las cannons at them because the opponent just didn't get those 5 and 6s. If you're wounding on 4s, it's already a bit dicey. You know, if anyone who's used like a Rogal Dawn's watching this video, you'll know when someone shoots you with that las cannon, it's like, oh, 50-50, where'd they get that 4 up? And it always seems to be they don't get the fort when they really need it. Well, imagine that scenario, but now the opponents have to fish for a 5 or a 6. And you can imagine how many las cannons you can bounce when, you know, beating the odds statistically is what I'm saying. So T13, it's great from a statistical point of view, and it's, I found from a battlefield experience point of view, just a phenomenally frustrating breakpoint for people to have to deal with. It's why I think knights going down to sort of T11 and the big ones coming down to T12 is actually quite a big deal, but that's a topic for another day. Now, the 2+ save is obviously very good. It's the best armor save that you can have in the game. It means that if this thing is in cover, and bear in mind you only need to poke a bit of your track into a bit of a ruin and you've got cover, or pop smoke, this thing does the smoke keyword, you are going to be on a 4+ save against even relatively large AP weapons like las cannons, their equivalents, plasma guns, stuff like that, which are AP3. Someone can hit your Doomhammer with AP3 and you'll be on a 4+ save. That's 50-50 again. If we think about the enemy trying to wound us and they only got a 33% chance to wound, and then you've got a 50-50 save, you can just see there's all these defensive barriers stacking up. Don't forget also that Doomhammers are naturally a good pairing with Tech Priest Engine Seers, who can put a 4+ invulnerable save on. And, you know, there are a lot of AP4 weapons out there, and there are a lot of AP -3 weapons for close combat as well. You can't get the benefit of cover in close combat, so sometimes having an engine seer nearby, putting that 4+ invulnerable save on, Blessing of the Omnissiah, that works both in shooting and in melee, that invulnerable save does, and that means that whatever the situation, your Doomhammer is going to have a 2+ save against small arms, and even against some of the high AP weapons, you should be rocking a 4+ save, which is going to make him very durable. And even if they do get past the T13, and they do get past the 4+ armor save, or 4+ invulnerable save, you've got 24 wounds. You can soak up a few las cannons if they manage to get through. The Doomhammer is tough, but it's not invincible. I have seen many an overzealous, undercautious, overconfident Imperial Guard commander take their Doomhammer or their other Imperial Guard Super Heavy, yeet it forward, and get it killed. My advice to anyone who is thinking about using a Doomhammer is they are tough, but they can go down in one turn, but rarely do they go down in one phase. So what I mean by this is, if someone shoots the crap out of you, you'll probably survive even a concentrated barrage. If someone choppies the crap out of you, you'll probably survive even a relatively lethal unit. But if someone shoots you and then follows you up with a charge, and they've got sufficient shooting and they've got good choppy, your Doomhammer can't take that. So it's a handle a phase worth of damage. It's not a handle a turns worth of damage. It will go down if you are overconfident. The only fly in the ointment on this datasheet is Leadership 7. I really do think Doomhammer should be Leadership 6+. Battle Shock isn't a big deal anyway, so you could remove Battle Shock from the game and it would barely impact it. But B, from a lore perspective, you should do this because Doomhammers are meant to be crewed by the most veteran crews in all of the Imperium. And I think those guys would be a little bit braver than the standard conscript. But like I said, it's a fly in the ointment. It's not really a big deal because Battle Shock's a bit of a waste of time anyway. What's not a waste of time is Objective Control 8. That's actually phenomenal. That's really nice. You can take a Doomhammer, put it on one of those primary objectives, and it's going to take something relatively OC intensive to shift you off it. And people don't really expect vehicles to have great OC. Most people think vehicles have got like 2 OC, 3 OC. 8 OC, it's a good break point, and unless the enemy is ready to take that objective off you by destroying you, you'll probably keep hold of it. But look, the Doomhammer isn't just fast, it isn't just tough, it's a guard super heavy. It is the pinnacle of our firepower, of our units. It's a premium unit, and so it's also packing a hell of a lot of heat. Each Doomhammer comes equipped with 2 las cannons, a magma cannon, which is the main gun, a twin heavy bolter, and 2 twin heavy flamers. Now you can swap out the 2 twin heavy flamers that the model comes with for 2 twin heavy bolters. Definitely do this. We'll get into more detail why in a moment. And you can also give the model, for the low price of free, 2 more las cannons and 2 twin heavy bolters, or, so you can't have 4 extra las cannons. You've got to pick between bullet point 1 and bullet point 2. You can take 2 las cannons and 2 twin heavy flamers. Always go for all the heavy bolters you can possibly get your hands on with super heavies, okay? The twin heavy flamers, whether you're taking 2 of them or whether you're not taking 4 of them, are just a big bag of shit. They used to be really good, but the problem is that now quick history lesson. In previous editions, twin heavy flamers got double shots. Now they get reroll wounds. That's fine, but flamers only find D6 shots means that they're really, really swingy. So they're just not worth it. Also, you used to be able to use the Overwatch stratagem on Titanic units. You can't do that anymore, and the Baneblade is a Titanic unit. Therefore, you don't have a reliable number of shots, and you can't even use Overwatch on this thing. So it's just, don't take the flamers. Your loadout should be the following. For every Doomhammer, your loadout should be the following. You have the main gun, 4 las cannons, and then you have 5 twin heavy bolters. The 1 on the front, and then the 4 on the sides. If you want an idea of what that looks like, here is one of my guard super heavies. You can see we've got the main gun on the front there. We've got the twin heavy bolter on the front. We've got 2 twin heavy bolters on either side. And then we've got the las cannons. This is what you want your Doomhammer to look like. All of these weapons here are the sideshow. They're the accoutrement. The main weapon here is the magma cannon, and we'll be getting into that in just a little bit. But just in case you are brand new to 40k and to the guard, and you're thinking, okay, what do these heavy bolters do? What do these las cannons do? Let me take you through their stat lines first. So essentially, your twin heavy bolters are your anti-infantry weapons on this tank, and your las cannons are your anti-tank options on this tank. Each twin heavy bolter, so bear in mind if you've gone with my recommended loadout, you'll have 5 of these things, has sustained hits 1, which means when it gets a 6 to hit, it generates an extra hit, and are twin linked, which means they get full rerolls to wound, which is very nice. They've got a 36-inch range, which will typically be enough to cover any units that are in line of sight that you want to shoot at, and they get 3 shots each. So with 5 of them, you're getting 15 shots in total. They hit on 4s, but you can, the whole tank hits on 4s, but typically you'll be hitting on 3s because you're going to want to use the take aim order, which gives you +1 to your ballistic skill. So they're hitting on 4s, but really hitting on 3s at strength 5, AP -1, damage 2. Strength 5 means that you tend to wound infantry in the game on 3s, which is okay. AP -1 is alright, but the problem is if the enemy has cover, it kind of negates your AP. But damage 2 is solid. It means every wound that you slip past will typically blow away a Space Marine less than Terminator or Gravis armor. The thing with the twin heavy bolters is, thanks to twin linked, even though these are principally anti-infantry weapons, you can actually throw them against vehicles and monsters, and you'll probably grind off a few wounds from the enemy because you're rolling 15 dice, hitting on 3s, getting some sustained hits. Even if you're winning on 6s, you get 4 rerolls on those hits, and everyone that you slip past is going to do 2 damage. So they're primarily anti-infantry, but don't be surprised if your heavy bolters end up finishing off a much harder target than a Space Marine or a Guardsman. Now, the las cannons are, as we said before when we're talking about las cannons and equivalent, they're anti-tank weapons. So you can see they've got a longer range, more than enough on 48, and each one has got 1 shot. So because you've got 4 las cannons on this vehicle, you'll get 4 shots in total with this profile. Again, they're hitting on 4s, but realistically hitting on 3s with that take aim order. Much higher strength, much higher AP, and much higher potential damage. So even though there's less shots from the las cannons, they have the potential to do really good damage, especially to hard targets. So this is your supporting anti-tank, this is your supporting anti-infantry, but the main gun, the magma cannon, is basically anti-everything. The magma cannon is blast, which means for every 5 models in the enemy unit, it gets +1 shot, and it's melter 6, which means when it's within half range, it gets an additional 6 to its damage. It's got a 24-inch range, which means that it needs to be within 12 inches to get that melter 6, but it does fire, so that's quite a short range gun. That is quite short range. 24 inches is decent, but I have been outranged when relying upon 24-inch range guns. D6 plus 3 shots is okay. It's all right. It's an average of about 7 shots. With blast, maybe you get 1 or 2 more out of there. Its ballistic skill 4+, its strength 12, its AP -4, and its damage D6. Now, before we get into whether I think the magma cannon is good or not, we really have to skip ahead a little bit and look at the ability. Because Close Range Titan Killer says that each time this model's magma cannon targets a monster or vehicle unit, that target is always considered to be within half range of that weapon. So even though it's only got a 24-inch range, if you shoot it at a monster or vehicle, you don't have to get within half range to get the mel to 6. So if you do manage to get a wound through, it's actually doing 6 plus D6 damage against monsters and vehicles. And it's this ability here which makes the Doomhammer beloved by guard players. It's this ability here which makes them start foaming at the mouth and getting excited and saying how the Doomhammer is the best guard super heavy and all this kind of crazy stuff. And look, I get it. D6 plus 6 damage, that's a lot of damage. But I'm not totally convinced. 24-inch range is still short-ranged. It's not, I don't know if it's long enough range. The main gun being outranged by like the supporting weapons, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right at all. And then D6 plus 3 shots, it's a little low in volume for me. If we compare this to the Bane Sword, which was doing D6 plus 6 shots, that felt like there was a lot more reliability to that volume. This thing might end up only firing like, what, 4 shots? The clincher for me, though, is the strength 12. That is what puts me off. Now, I know that recently Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights have had a slight toughness downgrade. So now the medium-sized ones are only toughness 11. And that will make a big difference, don't get me wrong. But strength 12, well, we saw it with the Doomhammer's own stat line. Sometimes it's not enough. You're having your main gun, who's meant to be a Titan killer, who's meant to be a vehicle killer, getting into scenarios where at best it's winning on 3s and often it might be wounding on 4s. More often than you'd like, it's going to wound on 4s. So it's got a low volume and then a lower strength. So that means you've got less shots to hit with, and those that you do hit with, less chance to wound with. I'm not saying it's a bad gun. And I know the Doomhammer people are going to start foaming at the mouth at me now and saying I'm an idiot. But I just think there are better main weapons. Now, we're kind of naturally transitioning into the last part of this video where we're talking about tactics, this thing, and why people love it so much. Now, people do love the Doomhammer because of the magma cannon. But I have noticed an interesting phenomenon. People love the Doomhammer on paper. But when they actually use it on the tabletop, it never seems to perform quite as well. Over the many years that I have been playing Guard, and many years that I've been doing YouTube, I have noticed loads of people get super hyped up over the Doomhammer. And then they go and play. I've had people in the last year or two join live streams, be like, double Doomhammer list. Mordian, I'm taking double Doomhammer to a local RTT, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And my reaction is, I'm not going to try and stop you. You have to learn for yourself. And nearly every single one of those people that goes and takes a Doomhammer comes back and says, Mordian, you were right. I wish I had a Shadow Sword. I wish I had a Bane Sword. I think the Doomhammer is a bit of a paper tiger. But this is where some people who are very stubborn won't give in and will say, but the Doomhammer has another trick up its sleeve, which is it can transport people and it's got a firing deck. So the Doomhammer can transport up to 26 Astra Militarum infantry, and it has a firing deck of 6. So what I have seen people do to try and make up for its firepower, you say, well, okay, if it hasn't got quite as much firepower as a Bane Sword, I'll make it have as much firepower as a Bane Sword. Bang. Here's 2 heavy weapons with the las cannons inside. Now I'm packing like 10 las cannons overall. And yeah, well done. That is true. I don't think that quite works anymore because the firing deck 6 for las cannons would only allow 3 of them to fire out because the fact that las cannon teams counts 2 per firing deck slot. But anyway, point is you can have 7 las cannons shooting for this thing. That's true. But now you're paying more points for this thing to try and get it to match the firepower of another super heavy when you could just take the other super heavy, which is just naturally going to have a better gun. And then people go, ah, yes, but what about the other units you could transport in? What if I was to put like a full platoon of guardsmen in here, or like a squad of Ogrin, or Kazakin, or something could go in here, and then I could drive it forward, and then they could get out the Doomhammer, and the Doomhammer could be a delivery system. And I'm like, my response to that is this. If you're turning your Doomhammer, if the main reason, or one of the main reasons you're arguing the Doomhammer is good, is because it's a delivery system, then why the fuck aren't you just taking a Taurox? I'm sorry, but it's true. The problem with these multi-role guard super heavies is that they can't do any of the roles as efficiently as if you took specialist units. For example, you want D6 plus 6 damage weapons? Take a Vanquisher. Take several Vanquishers. It's still cheaper than a goddamn Doomhammer. You want a unit that can transport models quickly and efficiently? Take a Taurox. The problem with the Doomhammer is very similar to the problem with the Banehammer, which is that you are paying for stuff that you can get elsewhere cheaper. You might say it's all eggs in one basket. That's true. That's true. But for me personally, I would happily have the Doomhammer be 50 points cheaper and it have no firing deck. If the Doomhammer was like between 400 to 420 points, I would be like, and then you had like the Banesword, which is like 480, I'd be like, get me a Doomhammer. But the problem is, I want to take a super heavy to smash people, but it's not got as much firepower. The Doomhammer hasn't got as much firepower. And I'm really not bothered about the firing deck because I might as well, if I'm taking this for fire, if you're taking the firing deck for firepower, I might as well just take a better firepower super heavy. And if I'm taking it for transporting stuff, well, there are cheaper and faster ways. Tauroxes and Hammer of the Emperor being a good example of getting there quicker. So I like the Doomhammer. I think it's a cool unit. But I think it's a bit of a paper tiger. I think there are units that can do the same job better in multiple different ways. I don't think it's a bad unit, though. At the end of the day, it's a guard super heavy. It's got a premium stat line, it's packing heat, and it can do a little bit of transporting and fire and decking at the same time. It might not be super efficient, it might not be my personal favorite, but I understand why so many people, when looking at this thing on paper, fall in love with it. And also, the gun is cool as hell. It's a giant goddamn melter magma cannon. What's not to like about that? In summary, I'd say the Doomhammer is middle of the pack on guard super heavies. If you've got the Bane Sword and the Storm Sword at the top, and you've got the Bane Hammer at the bottom, then the Doomhammer sits somewhere between those two. If someone put a Bane Hammer on the list, I would tell them to definitely take it out. If someone puts a Doomhammer in their list, I kind of smile and I nod acknowledgingly to a member of the Church of the Doomhammer. Of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Are you a fan of the Doomhammer? Have you tried it and it not worked out for you? Have you tried it and has it made you love it even more? And is there another guard super heavy that you think is better than the Doomhammer? Let us know your thoughts. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.